Vita and friends. I am Vitaly Portnikov. Chernigov's large-scale Russian attack on Ukraine. Chernigova Zhakliva sleeplessly near 4 millions of Meshkin residents of Ukrainian places from the victim. I want to send to myself through Pivchatya Rada and relatives of those who suffered those attacks. Those who, having known injuries and health problems, have still happened to empty a heap, attacking the Ukrainian energy structure. Those nights, but after all, no one has come to those objects on the Yaki Bula, on the body of Russian missiles and a drone. Emergency schedules are overgrown, electricity is turned on, and the Ukrainian regions are being ordered to carry scrap. View of Kiev and Kiev region to Kharkiv and Kharkiv region. It is practical to get into the power system everywhere. The results of Russian attacks are practically everywhere. And Putin's Tilly's windy terror is just as obvious. Sticks of adoration freeze Ukrainians. The sticks of adoration are unbearable. And with this rank I will accept, with this I will arm the power, until capitulation on Russian minds. All logic defies greedy, realistic, historical analysis. And Dosvid Persha light guilt, and Dosvid friend light guilt. Having demonstrated more strikes on Myar places, Kola cannot achieve the kind of visible results the army does not produce. Until I am at the front, does not produce until new political decisions. And Hitler's bombing of British places. And before the speech, the bombing of an ally and places is not practical. Nothing has changed in the mood of the population of the armed powers. Bombard. Those sufferings of people were shouted out by Tilky people, and for everything they did not produce an article of Ukraine. Before thinking about we are not capitulation. And knowing the skin, who you are in the story of a friend of light guilt. The guilt itself was not obvious. The results of such bombardments were analyzed by Viskov, historians, and politicians from various diligent exhibitions. And Putin, I'm a rotten teacher without my knowledge. Not greedy realistic exhibitions. It may also be that his strikes on the myriad Ukrainian places of Ukraine are not the elimination of an imperious power. And there are also Ukrainian councillors who will come to Russia for no offense to Russia itself, as it brings death and cold to the Ukrainian land. We can be a counselor, and Bilshma does not give up until reality. Another such rank punishing Ukrainians for their unwillingness with his retinue. But Putin does not support Ukraine. I am an independent power. Direct from the yak of the Lord to the suffering space. And the Ukrainians Yakovin riots in May for karate in supposedly fine, of course, all logic, having seen it, is not like any realities, and not like, as I have already said, historical analysis. She's just telling us that we're going to make him both a cruel malefactor and a sadist. Yakoma is like a yak suffering from the housing of Adida. We are also on the prit with Ukraine. Hromadian, you don't even seem to think about the scale of imperious atrocities. Having broken the commandment of Saltykov-Shchedrin, she pretended to be villains in our eyes. And villains in Ukraine, with a dagger, Iskander and a drone. I think that Ukrainians are in Ukraine. With Ukrainians in Ukraine, and Ukraine in villainy, God protects. Who has a healthy gluzdi, wishing to live with villains? After all, I'm still there for the wound. They read Pushkin's versions, and Putin's rumor and Premev. Firm happiness. And to my informant, here are more Ukrainian strikes on Russia. The bottles themselves looked not at the fact that the Russians were in the dark and cold, but so that they could not fight. Head curls of Ukrainian temples. The head style for those missiles, the yaks I am gone, will not be our allies, and will be in the raised just in the till, in the Yakovt, in the naphtha factories of the Russian Federation. So that the Russians overestimated the yak hiring less pennies for their not favorite occupations. To blame. Russians love guilt. So, and naphtha factories out and can't fight. Trebo Viskov objects on the territory of the Russian Federation. Airfields, Viskov bases, Viskov Chastiny, and most importantly, Viskov Enterprise. Viskovo fishing complex of the Russian Federation, as well as Maya Beauty Chastiny, Ukrainian ZUS. The torture is not that there will be Russians and a light rank. The torture is that they have people in the form of a brother. Without a drop, without a penny. In Russia, it will be richly, and it's unjust cruel, and saw fault against our power. And the process is based on the skin mass attacks of Russians on my Ukrainian places and on the Ukrainian civil infrastructure. Dyakuyu. It ends on the topic of the channel. Subscribe to it. Subscribe to my social ones on the Patreon Coffee and Donatello channel, and helps to develop these resources with the sponsorship function of YouTube itself.